Okay, as you all just now heard, my name is Ravi Pratap Singh. I am currently based in Sri Lanka, but I come from India, and I work in India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Bhutan as part of South Asia operations for EDE Action. In India, we have major work on education of children who migrate from one place to another within India. But within India, there are various states, currently 29 states in India. And um, children move with their families lock, stock, barrel for 3 to 6 months' time, 3 to 7 months' time, and then they go back to their homes after that. So you will understand that what kind of difficult situations in which these children are, who are almost for half of the year away from their roots, if I call it roots. And that definitely has significant impact on education of these children. Now, if we say that what is then happening to these children or children who are out of school when governments in South Asia or globally are putting so much of effort to include all of them. And one of the major things when we look at inclusion of children who are migrant children is their visibility. Now, if we look at the visibility of migrant children, they are covered by two layers, not just one, and therefore they are invisible, I would call them. The first layer is the glare of construction industry or the brick kiln work where most of the migrant children move with their families. So if we are talking about statistics in India, roughly 3/4 of migrant children are with their parents moving from their villages to these urban centers, which are involved in either construction industry or brick making industry or brick kilns. So they live there. And there's strong glare of that because of which they are not seen. But the second layer of invisibility is our own insensitivities. Because, what is happening is that once they are in their villages, they are counted as going to school because they have been enrolled in school, but they are effectively not going to school for 6 to 7 months, and therefore after a few years they drop out of the school system. So while they are counted that they are in school, they are not in school actually. So all these statistics are fine. They are saying that progress has happened very well, but these children are not there, and these children are not small in numbers. If we are talking about India, we are saying roughly 30 million people are migrating within India from one state to another, and 18 to 20% of them are children who are school-going age children or younger than that. So if we take the whole lot of 26 or 20%, they are around 6 million children only in India. And then there is a migration from Nepal to India, Bangladesh to India. I'll leave that aside for now. So, now what we did was we systematically looked at what kind of effects it is having on children. First, obviously, is that they are excluded out of education system. But apart from that, the second important thing is that they are far away from what we call under CRC protection. Protection is nowhere there. They are out in open. They don't know. I'll show a small video which will show you how vulnerable situations are, means how vulnerable situations they live in. The third area is about nutrition, which is again demonstrating vulnerability, but vulnerability which is having longer term impact on their learning capabilities as well. And the fourth is the environment in which they live. You know, the brick kilns are out in open, the houses which are there are not livable at all. And just to illustrate that, we 2 years back we decided to get into part of sensitization of industry or brick kiln industry, where some of the brick kiln owners agreed to reconstruct the houses where the brick kiln workers were living for 6 months' time. And they are quote unquote temporary houses, but every 6 months these people come back. They are there for 6 years, 7 years, but they are called temporary houses. And they were so unlivable that people have to enter into the house virtually crawling in. And when I visited these projects, and in one of the projects I was talking to this woman, and I asked her that, are you happy? Means the usual questions which we ask, sometimes stupid questions. But when I asked, how do you feel about this? So she said, okay. I said, but is there any change? Yeah, there is a kind of indifferent attitude. And then I asked her that, okay, so what was there before and what is now with you? What kind of change you see in this? Means in this house, what is the biggest thing which you got? I was trying to actually get some kind of answer to show my impact. And this lady, she answered me, she said, I can stand inside this house. And that was a blow to me. Means you can stand inside your house is something which is extremely obvious thing for all of us. And this was the biggest thing for this woman. And afterwards, consistently many other women and children said that they can stand within their house. That's the biggest change which they have seen. Obviously, everything else was also set right. So that's the safe environment in which these are women. I'm talking about children. So we converted the environment into safe environment for these children. And millions of children, not just in India, in Nepal, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh and other countries, are also classified as child labor. They are below 14 years, they are going for work. In many cases, they are going to hazardous industries and still working. Means in spite of Kailash getting Nobel Peace Prize, his tremendous work in India and globally, there are still millions of children who go back to the same situation. So we actually started working therefore on the family income, understanding of family income schedules. And through our youth development program, we identified some of the youth from families who were skilled enough to get into an employment which could give them sufficiently good income, which would not just supplement the family income, but would also help education of these children who were migrant children. So one of the major problems which we saw was, as they are missing, we said first we need to track down all those children in the source areas. And the first major exercise which we did was in the southern Indian state of Andhra Pradesh, which later on got divided into 2 states. But in that state, we worked in all 23 districts to only identify in a season, migration season, identify number of migrants and their children in construction site and brick kilns. Construction site, brick kilns and stone quarries. And we identified with names and which villages they come from, which states they come from, the entire list of 112,000 children who were school-going age children, and there were some younger children also. And then when we presented this report to the government of Andhra Pradesh, they were quite encouraging. The Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, which is universalization of elementary education program in India, they supported us in a major way. Means it's a different story that later on administration changed, bureaucracies changed. In bureaucracy, some people don't understand the perspective, and therefore they thought that the whole quote unquote business of running schools or running education for these children is going out of hands of the government, and which is a source of major income for them, which is through siphoning off of money. And therefore there were various kinds of attacks on us. We continue to work with migrant children in the state and elsewhere, but scale of work has substantially reduced, because what we thought a government could do could not happen afterwards, because government is again in a denial mode at this point of time, where they're saying that no, they are not those many children out of school, there are much lesser, whereas they are all visible there. Now, so that was the tracking first. Second one was this child care and learning centers, which we combined. So it is nutrition, food, safe environment, and schooling or learning. All that together is called child care and learning center. That's something which we did. Then third thing is that in India, various states have entitlements and services which are restricted to their own state or own province. And when they move from one province to another province for their livelihoods, they virtually lose out those entitlements. So we worked on portability of these entitlements, including public distribution system which allows cheap food items to be available on those shops, and so on. And then there's a major chunk of money sitting in construction welfare boards. Certain percentage of money of the construction industry and others goes into this board, which is being managed by the government, and a huge pile of money is sitting there not being used. So these boards have been influenced to a very small extent, tiny extent I would say, but is a very good beginning. And the last one, sorry it's not visible, but I'll say which is the most crucial one, is the institutionalization of interstate coordination mechanism for migrant children. You know, what happens is that there's this whole thing of our children and their children comes into being when children from one state move to another state. And some of the very senior bureaucrats said that why should I worry about those children? They are from the other state, they are not my children. And that's very insensitive. Because even if we call of country, means we now are saying that even if they are children from other countries, their children are children. Children need to have their education, their protection, their right to development and everything. And in this case, within one country, if they move from one state to another, they are called other children. And that's something which we wanted to fight more systematically and institutionally. And therefore, we brought the highest level of bureaucracies of 3 states initially. The state of Odisha, which is in eastern India, from where a lot of people migrate because of lack of livelihood options. 2 states like Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, which are industrially more developed. And these people came together, and then they agreed that when we showed them the statistics, we said that roughly the number of children or adults who are moving into your state, same number is going out of your state also. And that's the politics of migration, where I don't want to employ my own laborers of my own state, because there is a danger of these people knowing the language and lobbying against any right violation which happens. So to take care of, to ensure that all kinds of violations can happen, the laborers are hired from another state where the language is completely different. So they come to a place which is completely alien place, and that's what is the politics of migration which is being played there. So we then governments in these 3 states agreed that they will look at ensuring the school moving from this state to that state. Now school, which means physical infrastructure, does not move, but the teaching learning material and a volunteer teacher moves to all the sites in other state where the migrant children are there. So the local state government provides the space in their regular schools, and teaching learning material comes from the source state. So in this case, from eastern Indian state of Orissa, lot of teaching learning material or appropriate number of teaching learning material was sent to Andhra Pradesh, sent to Tamil Nadu, and volunteer teachers were identified who could speak the language of these children. Otherwise, the language is completely different. Language of instruction in schools is the local state language, and these children who were taught in Odia were then taught in either Tamil or Telugu, which was beyond their capacity to understand, and therefore the volunteer teachers played a very crucial role in continuation of their education. And then they were issued the transfers, what is called transfer certificate technically, by the schools in the destination states, so that they can go back to the source state and continue their education for remaining 6 months. So that is something which is extremely important mechanism which has been developed within 3 states. And now recently government of Tamil Nadu has told us that they want some hundreds of more volunteer teachers if we can identify and send them there, and government of Tamil Nadu will actually take care of the salaries of these teachers as well, which is a very welcome state, and that's something which we would like to institutionalize within among all these states, all 29 states of India, and that is what will bring the change. So this 3 states phenomena needs to be expanded to all 29 states. That's something which we are working out right now, and if and only if that happens, we can be sure of all the migrant children having or getting their education. This is what I talked about. Many of them are undocumented. These are the worksite environments where you can see on the left top, a child is dipping into muddy water. That's his playground. Here actually 2 of them are actually working on the brick kiln site on the right hand side. I won't go into this whole thing. I'll only say that identification of high child migration prone areas and registration of these or documenting those children is extremely important. And in the destination areas, we need to look at ensuring that these children are taken care of in the destination states, and industries are more sensitive towards this whole thing, and the portability of their entitlements and services are ensured. So this is what is happening in the destination areas. In the source areas, we are talking about various things about awareness of labor rights and so on. So it's a more comprehensive approach. That's about the presentation. I would like you to have a look at, it's not a very professional video. It has been done by our own team, but it will give you some sense of how things are working in our overall work on migration. So may I request to play that film, please, and then the floor is open. The film is 5 minutes 11 seconds or something like that, so you have to bear for that much of time. Thank you very much.
However, in the last few decades, there has been seasonal migration has long been a practice for improving livelihood in rural areas. However, in the last few decades, there has been a growing incidence of distress seasonal migration. According to an estimate, there are 326 million migrant population in India, of which short-term migrants vary between 15 to 100 million. Most of these people who migrate to work in brick kilns, construction, and other informal sectors lead a pathetic life devoid of basic rights and entitlements. Children are the worst affected by distress migration. Due to frequent back and forth movement from village to the migration destination, their education gets severely affected and they end up being absorbed into the unorganized labor force. Though the Government of India has been proactively implementing and ensuring to bring all the children under the ambit of right to education, the migrant children still remain excluded. In order to come out with a possible solution, Aided Action collaborated with Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan Government of Andhra Pradesh and conducted a mammoth mapping exercise in the state where 779 NGOs took part and identified 1.2 lakh inter- and intra-state migrant children. An interstate coordination meeting was organized where the findings were disseminated to Secretaries of Ministry of Education and Ministry of Labour and Employment of the states of Orissa, Tamil Nadu and the then Andhra Pradesh. The administration in all three states was convinced about the issue and they agreed to provide requisite language-specific teaching and learning material for continued education of the migrant child.
With the advent of Right to Free and Compulsory Education Act for children, and with the mandate that no child should be out of school in the state, it has become very imperative for the state government to see that children under different categories are brought within the ambit of education.
Following the positive response from the state governments, Aided Action piloted Educating Migrant Children, a systematic intervention in destination areas for the schooling of these migrant children who were out for 3 to 6 months. Additionally, facilitating seasonal hostel for children ready to stay back in their villages was another major activity of the project. Though the respective state governments provided teaching and learning material, one of the challenges for the interstate migrant children was the medium of instruction. To overcome this, Aided Action recruited education volunteers from source location who would be coexisting with the migrants during their stay at worksite. This strategy was helpful in creating a school atmosphere similar to that of the source village. Once the seasonal migration came to an end, the volunteers conducted exams and issued certificates to all those who successfully completed classes. These children were then reintegrated into the local government schools at source villages. Through this project, Aided Action succeeded in building a sustainable interstate coordination between the government of Orissa, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, which is benefiting thousands of migrant children. After witnessing positive results, the model was replicated in Orissa and Tamil Nadu. Aided Action is now advocating with other state governments and working towards convincing them to adopt this model to ensure the education of millions of migrant children in India. It is also working towards adoption of this practice as a part of the Interstate Migrants Act of India so that this mechanism becomes mandatory for all the state governments to adopt and practice.